Welcome to Event Horizon, a walk into the paranormal with a splash of the conspiracy. Today's show is entitled, Are Cats the Key to Detecting UFOs? For you cat owners, have you ever noticed your cat stare off into a distance for several seconds without moving? No, not like when they're stalking a bird or some other prey, but just lost in their own mind, staring blankly at a spot where there's nothing else there, but they're focused on it and trained on it as if there's another person in the room. I mean, they're staring blankly as if they're receiving a signal or a message from the universe. I think cats are the key to detecting when a UFO is about to show up. I know you're thinking, wow, Mark, I've listened to a few of your shows. I even listened to the one where you theorize that the universe is just like a piece of bread, or a loaf of bread, or a pizza, for God's sakes. But now you're telling me that cats can detect when a UFO is about to show up? Cats have always been important, particularly to the ancient Egyptians. Now, some say the Egyptians worshiped cats because they provided protection for crops and slowed the spread of disease because they killed vermin, mice, rats, and even snakes. There are images amongst the ancient Egyptian relics where cats are shown as dominant over cobras, a symbol that is displayed throughout Egyptian lore, including the Sphinx. There is a god to the cats. Bast is her name. She's the daughter of Ra and is viewed as the protector, also the goddess of war, because in some of her statues she is depicted as having a lion's head, but in many others she's depicted with the form of a cat. As I said, cats were revered amongst the Egyptians because they believed that their cats protected them from disease. Because many of the rats and mice carried disease and could contaminate and cause all sorts of issues, including illnesses for the people. The bubonic plague and many other great calamities that have claimed the lives of millions of humans have been traced back to such diseases that were carried by vermin. So you could just stop right there and say, hey, Mark, Egyptians worship cats because these guys were great at running off vermin. Who wouldn't love that? Egyptians loved cats. They even allowed cats to eat from the same plates as their owners. Something I don't do now. I have a cat. Cat goes for my food. We're going to have a problem, especially my hamburgers. But in Egypt, cats were revered. They were allowed to share the same plate as their owners as if they were on the same plane. Bast, who was the goddess, the protector, the symbol for the cats, also the daughter of Ra, had a temple that was excavated in Egypt, and there were over 300,000 mummified cats found in the temple. in the temple, 300,000. That's not just revering a cat. That's telling you that the cat was far more important to life and death than we want to recognize. Now, me personally, I don't put everything on worship when it comes to the ancients. I think that's the cheap and easy way out. Every time we don't understand something about many of the cultures that created great art, great structures, great math, we throw it back on religion. They did it to serve the gods. That might be said about us 1,000 years from now when they dig up all the millennials who have their iPhones glued to their hands. They may say those devices, the Apple, which is also referenced in the Bible, was the source of knowledge that corrupted everyone. But don't let me take everyone on a tangent here. We're talking about cats, not apples. So 300,000 mummified cats found with Bast at her temple. It's said that when a cat died, the Egyptian owners from that period would shave their eyebrows and have the cats embalmed. So the cats are important because they catch rats and mice. So important for doing that one job that you can eat from my plate, and I treat you like a deity by mummifying you. I don't know if I buy that. If religion played a central role for Egyptians, as many believe, then I think the cats played a key role for those worshipers in connecting them to the people they worshiped, the gods. And I also think the Egyptians, as smart as they were, with math that is still as precise as any computer that we have in terms of determining planetary orbits, wobble of the planet, high math, I think these guys were also very practical. If you wanted to detect things at night, certain lights, today, you would go and put on night vision glasses so that you could see at night. The ancients didn't have that, and so the night became a symbol for death. Those that could navigate death took on special meaning for those who were afraid of the dark. So you see the owl, you see the cat as being a centerpiece for taming the darkness for these cultures. And I think the owl and the cat provided different practical elements for taming that darkness. Now, what do I mean by that? What if I told you the lights that UFOs emit are the same color that cats are especially good at detecting? Would that make a cat a great substitute for night vision glasses for people who wanted to know if the gods were coming back? I'd say yes. What do we know about cats? Cats have 6 to 8 times more rod cells in their eyes, which enables them to detect light at low levels. Cats have a wider field of view, about 200 degrees compared to 180 degrees for humans. So a wider range, detect more at low light. Cats have elliptical eye shapes, and they also have a tatum that shifts the wavelengths of light, allowing them to see subtle movements when their prey or other silhouettes move in the night. The cat's cortex permits them to create 3-dimensional maps of their surrounding. Let me say that again. A cat's cortex permits them to create 3-dimensional maps of their surrounding. But that's not even the best thing. Cats can especially focus in on red, blue, and yellow lights. So when you add all of that ability up, wider range of view, detect red, blue, yellow lights, 3-dimensional mapping, that's better than any night vision goggle. Now, I've heard stories that the Egyptians revered cats because they believed cats protected their souls. That they could detect when there were others from other dimensions coming to get their soul. I don't think they were just talking about it in a religious perspective. I think cats can detect when portals or when UFOs are about to emerge into this plane, just because of what they're capable of seeing. Let's tie this all together, because I don't think many of you quite see it the way I do. So I went digging. I wanted to know, of all the UFOs that have been sighted, with as much detail as been provided, what's the most common color people see when they see a full body luminosity or a craft emerging at night? Now, according to an article I found on hyper.net, written by Dimitris Hatzopoulos on August 12, 2012, UFOs that appear at night, where they are the source of light rather than the reflector of light, witnesses have stated that these UFOs change colors and are predominantly orange-yellow, but sometimes white and red, green and blue. So these are these full body luminosity. These are craft emerging at night, emitting colors that cats can detect. Made me take a full step back. So what I mean by that full body luminosity, there's several different types of light, as you probably could guess, associated with a UFO. Patchy body light, that's when light is emitted from certain areas of the UFO, beams of light, kind of like searchlights that move in a sweeping motion, and then these full body luminosity, the craft itself giving off light as it appears in the night sky, as if it had arrived through a portal. Now, Dimitri believes that the light is emitted because the craft is acting like a neon light. That the force field energy that he believes is associated with the propulsion of that craft is ionizing the air around the UFO, creating the colors that we see. Well, not that we see, because many of these colors we don't detect. But cats can. We may get a glimpse here or there, thus the sightings. But I think our friends, the cats, and possibly the owls, are detecting lights that we cannot see. I wish I had a cat with me on July the 11th. At 12 p.m. Central Time, traveling from Selma, Alabama to Atlanta. Because I would have been able to have that cat detect what I saw before I saw it. And I would have had a witness, even if it was a cat. Because I still can't believe it. I was driving from Selma, Alabama, and I was approaching Montgomery near the airport. And for those of you who know the area, there's a military base and then the civilian airport that are adjacent to each other on the outskirts of Montgomery on Highway 80. That evening, as I was driving back late night, early morning, as I approached, there was a tremendous amount of lightning, but no thunder. But it wasn't a typical night for lightning. It was lightning that appeared to be striking the same spot over and over again in the far distance, 7 or 8 times in a row, quickly in succession. As I approached the military base, the far-off lightning strikes, which appeared to touch down from the heavens to the ground, almost in a straight line, straight down, which I thought was extremely peculiar. I've never seen that before. Started to spider web across the sky, lighting up the entire area, illuminating clouds, because they appeared to be flashing behind the clouds on this humid sunny day. I thought for sure I was in store for a stormy night, as I tried to do the old trick some relatives taught me growing up. See the flash and then count until you hear the thunder, and you get an estimate for how far away the storm is. Well, I was counting, and there was no thunder. So I'm thinking, wow, the storm must be way off. I'm probably going to run into it as I approach Atlanta. But I didn't run into any storm. what I ran into was continued spider webbing of this lightning above Montgomery. Until I saw what I didn't think I saw. A pill-shaped orb. Right in my view. As the spider-webbed lightning lit up the clouds, there it was in the cloud. But it gets stranger. Gets really strange. The lightning continued to emit through the clouds with no thunder. And then in a split second, one of those lightning bolts made its way through the cloud where that orb was and appeared to connect to the orb. The orb lit up in colors, flashing red, then orange, and did something that I was completely stunned by. It did a series of right angle turns just like a Z at speeds that were unfathomable, if I can get that word out. Like Zorro, the Z, zoop, zoop, zoop. It zigged and zagged as it was changing from orange to red. And as it completed the Z, boom, it was gone. I got to Atlanta that evening, posted that sighting on Facebook, went looking for it, only to find that Facebook had deleted that post. I don't know what that means, but it blew me away to see that and to see an orb move at that speed and to see that orb almost as if it was fueled by the lightning strikes in the sky. You know, like the scene from Back to the Future with Marty and Doc, where the lightning strike runs down the tower clock and into the flux capacitor. That's what it looked like. Maybe those guys had a flux capacitor. Whatever happened though, that thing did a Z and was out of there. Disappeared. My heart raced and I drove on to Atlanta. When I got to the other side of Montgomery, there was no storm. There was no rain. There was no more thunder. And the drive on in for the next hour and a half into Atlanta was calm and peaceful with clear skies. Which makes me wonder what happened over Montgomery. Did something open up in those skies with that much thunder? Was there a portal? Was I witnessing the entry of a craft into our dimension? Don't know. But I tell you what, every chance I get to get my cat in the pickup, I'm doing it. And when she stops and stares, I'm paying attention. Guys, thanks for listening in. I appreciate you. listening to the Event Horizon and my rants and raves. I keep telling people one day I'm going to have to write a book about all the crazy things that continue to happen to me. Maybe they happen because I continue to look, because my mind is open to it, because I look up into the skies, because I pay attention to what I feel and sense around me. Or maybe I just enjoy taking a walk into the paranormal with a splash of the conspiracy. This has been Event Horizon. This is Mark Peterson. We'll check you out next time.